You are about to experience an episode of Best People, Best Place with Matt Granados. Listen in as Matt and today's guests reveal the ways their company invests in people, along with feedback from those very people. Get ready to soak up wisdom as you hear what the best places are doing to create success through the development of people.
All right, everybody, this is Matt Granados here, and I am so excited to be coming back with another season of Best People, Best Place. We have Eric Watkins here, and I am so excited. Eric is the president of Abstrakt Marketing Group here in St. Louis, and the best way I could describe it, Eric, and if I mess this up, you tell me, is basically a B2B lead generation company and business growth agency that offers multiple avenues on how individuals can grow their company. Did I get that kind of right?
Yeah. Anything we can do to help develop your sales as an organization from, full service.
Awesome. Now, one of the interesting things about you, Eric, and we're going to dive right into this. For those of you who listen to this every week as we put this out, you know that we don't come to Eric to hear what Eric has to say. We go to Eric's people to find out what they have to say. Anybody can brag on themselves. But when we offer an anonymous survey for individuals to share publicly what's going on behind closed doors, we found the true people come out. Now, Eric, one of my favorite things about your story, and it was brought up a lot by your employees, was your journey through the company. So walk us through real quick. If you want to add anything to kind of who you are, you are more than welcome to, but just the journey that your people know about, that you told me about, where you started to where you are and how that happened.
Sure. Well, first off, I'm a little excited. You haven't given me any of this feedback. I'm going in blind, so that's a cool idea for this.
We'll be nice.
Yeah, so I started back with Abstrakt in 2012, and I actually started as an unpaid intern. And we had, at that point in time, about 35 employees. A little bit about myself: born and raised in St. Louis on the Illinois side of the river. Lived here my whole life. Love it. Plan to stay here forever. So I love that you're in St. Louis as well, and love this podcast. But I started in 2012, unpaid intern, walked in, 35 to 45 employees that we had at the time. And we had this big space on the landing down in St. Louis, and we filled up about like 1/5 of the space. So I remember my first thought was, wow, this place is really cool, but why did they get so much space? Like, they don't even have enough people to fill this thing. And obviously our leadership team had big plans to be able to grow that. But I was lucky to get in at a good time, work really hard, had a good attitude, moved my way from intern to a full-time job in operations, did implementations, and then transitioned into a partner sales manager role, which was managing accounts and the fulfillment from our SDR team, outbound SDR team, that's making cold calls, having conversations, setting up qualified appointments for our clients. And that transition was completely different for me because I had to go from operations into that, into a role that I hadn't cold called before. I hadn't been a manager before. And it was just a great opportunity of, in a good example of how we push people outside of their comfort zones to take on new things and challenges, because that's where you really learn and grow. If you're if you're comfortable, if you're not a little nervous, you're not growing, you're not pushing yourself. So then from there, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by a really good team and have really good support. And I went from partner sales manager into the director of our sales center at the time, and was able to, in combination with my team and our sales team, we really hit rapid growth as a business. And then just through growth, my role went from director to vice president, because now I had to, instead of managing managers, I had to manage directors. So directors of managers, directors who were managing managers. And then in 2019, our CEO had a lot on his plate and responsibility, and he needed somebody to step up and run the day-to-day. So I moved into the president role in October of 2019, took on sales, took on operations, took on product, and then the fulfillment of our outbound, and then also assisted with our inbound product as well. So fast forward through that time period. Well, first off, it was very interesting because March 2020, COVID hit, and that was a struggle for all of us. So it was a great introduction into the role. And then over the course of that next year, we actually made our first acquisition as a company and bought Sapper Consulting, which was doing about $20 million in revenue. So like immediately kind of doubles the the size of your scope. And just through this whole period, I'm still consider myself young. I still consider myself inexperienced. I'm trying to learn every single day and continue to improve. But it's been a great opportunity. And I just, what fires me up more than anything is I meet new hires in the new class, and someone's going to get to do that journey as well. Someone's going to be president one day,
yeah, it's amazing, right? As you kind of go through all these accolades that you all won, everything from, you being honored as, St. Louis Titan, all the things that are going on, game changer, expanding your workforce the way you did. But it's so funny hearing, and again, you don't know what I know. Like, you do know what I know because you experienced it, but you don't know what your people told me. And this is why we love doing it this way, is because as the listeners listen to this entire episode, and this is when you're going to want to listen all the way through, you're going to see how predictable these responses are based on what, Eric, you just shared as your journey. For example, let me tell you one thing one of your people said about you. Abstrakt has been such an amazing company to work for. Our president, Eric Watkins, is second to none. To be a president of a company at this size and still have the relationships with everyone is amazing to witness. He's been someone who I look up to and respect as a leader of our organization.
Wow.
That's one of the many things we're going to be talking. That's why I said this. I love doing this podcast because we meet people like you who your heart is so in the right place. Your effort's in the right place. Even your investment in your people financially is in the right place, that your people know it.
Yeah. Well, first you're going to make me tear up. That is, that's so cool. And, it's cool to hear that because I think, and I don't know how a lot of companies work, frankly, because I've been in this company my whole career. I started here out of college. But when we're in meetings with leadership, like we're talking about our people all the time. Like, how would our people feel? What could make this better for them? What opportunities could? And just to hear that, that's trickling down, because I know that's tough to do, especially as you get bigger, is super cool to hear.
Yeah, and something came out about a past rap career.
I didn't think that was going to make it here today.
We ask everything.
Yes. There was a dark time in my college career where I had a slight, very small rap career. But what a funny story is, so my friends always give me trouble about it, and they're still like, they have a couple songs like stored from way back
just
when.
in case.
Yeah. And I got married this past July, and my wife now kept asking me like, hey, I want you to rap at the wedding. Yeah. And I was like, absolutely not doing it. And then I surprised her after our first dance and did
awesome.
One of my old rap songs. Yeah. So,
and again,
but that's it. It's officially retired now.
Is there any proof online in case someone Googles you?
No, that should be deleted from
you did a good job
the
of that.
ethos. Yeah. I think we cleaned all that up.
Yes. No, and I think it's so important because just the authentic human who you are, and the fact that your people know that. And when I ask what's the one thing, and that was what they said they were upset because they haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. So, and they're not going to. I'll give them everything else they want. They're not getting that.
There needs to be boundaries in what we do. So as a company, right, that's who you are, Eric, as a person. Multiple placements on the Inc. 5000 list. Brandon Hall Best Onboarding Program 2023. That's something I want to know about. Most innovative companies, top workplace to work, obviously, and many, many more. My question for you is, there's a lot of people who go on these lists, right? And I told you, we used to use that as a barometer on, hey, if you make the list, we'll have you on the podcast. And we've had to change that because there's also some people on the list who aren't on the list for the right reason. And there's nothing against those lists. They do what they can do. But with 525 employees, right? That's a lot of people to say you're good. If I have a group of 10 and they all say I'm good, that's okay. But for 525 to all get behind the answers we got, why do these awards mean anything to you more than just a plaque for marketing purposes?
Sure. Yeah. I think the first thing I'll talk about is that training award, and super proud of on my team. My EVP, Jessica Rentel, runs our training department, and she's been doing it for 6-7 years. And I think the benefit or just the fact that she was able to win this award, which is super prestigious. There's a ton of, we're talking big companies that are on this list. Yeah. And we were one of the smaller ones to be in the like obviously we're not small in the scheme of things of compared to Fortune 1000, but we were on the list with these people.
Yeah.
And it just shows that her constant drive to develop her team and her department and take things to the next level, that when they saw they literally look at your whole training curriculum for your onboarding process,
Yeah.
and they absolutely loved it. So to me, I love that one because I had nothing to do with it.
That's amazing.
That was her team. And it's just cool to like how excited they were when they won the award. And it was so cool. It was just a great experience. And then I think overall, best places to work, I think, is great. And I like it I like the plaque. I like the brand recognition, and it helps people know you have to be like, yes, you can, maybe finagle it a little bit, but to do it at 550 employees, you have to at least be some standard of a good place to work. But what I take more pride in is two things. Is one, the people that grow within the business, where they started and where they're at now. And frankly, the people that ultimately leave Abstrakt. We talk a lot about this of Abstrakt doesn't necessarily have to be your forever home, but seeing someone who came in as an SDR out of college, had no business experience, maybe wasn't very good on the phones, fought through some rejection, honed their skills, and then in 2 years, they're getting a $85,000 a month job that they would have never gotten otherwise. That's rewarding. Like that's really what it's all about.
That's so good, man. Now, one thing I want to ask you, because you get these plaques, you get these awards, right? And again, some of the awards you have, you can't buy your way in. Like you said, that onboarding program, that you couldn't buy that. You invest in it, but you can't buy it. Now, the top place to work, again, you can get people to come through. But the part that I think is so important is when you put that plaque on your email, your site, whatever it might be, and then your clients interface with your employees. If it doesn't match the authenticity, I think it's almost like a target on your back of the other fraud that's going on within your company. And that's why, like I said, having your employees answer the way they've answered, it's like, man, you made the list for all the right reasons, and you see all. And those are, like I said, if you want to look up this company, jump on LinkedIn, and you will see you guys have all the lists linked out, right? Like, there's a lot more. We just don't have time for it. Now you got a nice big sign behind you, right?
Yes.
This is not your office. This is the Grow Show. What is the Grow Show? How do they listen to it? Let me hear about what that is.
Yeah. So fun fact, we're actually in Nelly's old studio right now. So the building we're in used to be the Extreme Institute for Technology. So I think he recorded a couple songs in here.
There you go.
So, I'm probably the second best rapper to be in the studio, but
good point. It's a good point.
The Grow Show is our podcast that myself, our CEO, and our chief revenue officer do. And what we did was it was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. It seems like everybody's getting into podcasts, but we wanted an opportunity to just, we felt like we've been doing some really cool things along the way, and we wanted to help people because it was so painful to get to where we are today. Like there is grind and stress and problems and challenges. And so if we could just help some people get through those obstacles a little bit easier is really what we were gearing it towards. And that was really more externally, for our clients and then people just in the industry running small to medium-sized businesses. Right. But the other part was for our people. So what we realized was it was an opportunity for, an organic way to actually communicate with everybody internally, share your thoughts behind the decisions you're making, the why behind them, why that's important to the business, what's the impact on the people, clients, and company. So our CEO goes 50 for 50 tips to get to $50 million. I do mining for growth gold. So I go through, I have 50 tips of how to generate more leads for your business. And then our chief revenue officer goes through Tales from Sales, which is 50 tips and strategies to impact your sales. And then we have a little bit of fun along the way as well. So Spotify, Apple, The Grow Show. You can find us on LinkedIn as well.
I will put that in the show notes as well. It's great content. And what you guys have done is not only amazing, but you can duplicate it, which is even better. So, all right. So on this show, one thing that we always like to talk about is just this overwhelming truth that there's these gaps that are coming up, and they seem to be becoming more and more wide between companies' desired wants and employees' desired lifestyles. one thing you guys have done is you've kind of helped bridge that gap with the programs that you've put in place. My theory is that we as companies are trying to solve the right problem, but a lot of us are doing the wrong solutions, right? So we all see the problem, but we're not doing the right thing. And we need to find that root cause. What we live by in Life Pulse, our consultancy, is just the fact that people are not the problem, but people have problems. So therefore, if you have people, you have problems, right? So
Yeah,
it's not the people themselves. And that's what we come in and we go 50 for 50 going, here's how we can grow the people. With this, we like to talk to your team to hear what your team said as to how are you overcoming that problem, right? You guys, more than most people, you don't blame it on the people. You recognize that your people need to be equipped. And here are some of the things that your people said. The first section is going to be growing your employees as employees, right?
Sure.
And what I mean by that is the actual technical side of the business. So when we asked the question, the question we asked your team was, how has your company invested in you and your career as an employee? One of them, and you can stop me if one of them really sticks out to you, says various training exercises from volunteer to mandatory, genuine and helpful support from my supervisors, keeping things lively and interesting around the office. Incredible training and onboarding, extremely focused on your growth as an individual, very accessible leadership ranging from directors to owners. My question to you, one thing that kept coming up was Litmus.
Yeah.
Right? What is that?
Sure. So Litmus is our automated learning path. It's a software that's out there that we use, and they have structured content that is just inherent to Litmus. And then we also have custom content within our company as well. So for example, we at the root of all of this is vision. We wanted to create, I think when people talk about how, to take a step back, when people talk about how unmotivated this generation is or how people don't want to work, it's because you're not giving them anything to work towards. I don't think people are inherently bad. I don't think you've made a good enough case for why they should work hard, right?
Right.
Because I just think we're past people working hard to blindly work hard. I don't think that exists anymore, and nor should it. So in Litmus, every position that individuals can get promoted to has a learning path. And we do these weekly MABs, which stands for major projects, activities, and potential business issues, where you're running through key areas of your responsibilities and what you're doing to improve in that area. But on the weekly map, we have a project dedicated every single week to professional growth. So that could be, I need to go to the gym 5 times this week because I need to get in better shape for my life. Or it could be, I want to be a sales manager, so I'm taking the Litmus course to be able to do that. And it's crazy. People have taken huge advantage of just having all the learnings accessible. And it's like, you want it, go get it. We're gonna give you all the tools to be able to be successful.
That's awesome. All right, culture's unmatched is what one of your employees said. Unmatched, unwavering support from top down. How I know that's what a lot of us want to say that we do. A lot of leaders will say, like, if I ask you, how's your culture? Oh, my culture's amazing. My people are really comfortable with we can say that. What do you think you guys have done differently? And it's a combination of even some of the stuff that we've talked about, right? What do you guys do differently that makes it so not just that you're putting the effort in, but that the employees are actually experiencing that and understanding that and agreeing with that?
That's a great question. And you try to do so many things to have a great culture that it's hard to put your finger on one. But what jumped out to me when you said that is I feel like our culture is built around what we do. At the end of the day, it's about delivering an incredible service to clients. Yeah. And that's what success is. And we're all fighting in that direction. And I think sometimes people try to fix culture outside of what you're doing as a business instead of that being core focus. Like you wouldn't be in business if you weren't doing that. So I think that purpose and then getting the team united behind that is really what stuck out to me.
And to add on to that, when we work with some clients, and I don't like to use their names if it's in a negative way, but just the higher end techie companies that pour into their people financially in ways that a company of our size could never, is that they're disconnecting culture with what they're providing to their customer. Yep. And I think it's really, as a listener, I want to challenge anyone listening to this. If you're a business owner, if you're a manager, or if you're just an employee wondering, how in the world can I make my workplace even better? Is making sure that you're recognizing the value you're offering to your customer. Because if you're not offering any value, you're not actually a business. I mean, that's the transaction we're offering. So I think it's extremely wise. Now, with you guys, did you consciously tie it to that? Or is that as you kind of came in from your path, from an intern to where you are now, it just became kind of the way it happened? And then you guys took it. Now that you know it, you run with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's just kind of the way it happened, but I will be honest that we've lost it at certain points in times. And one of the things that we've done, two things, is one, having an A-player score. So everybody in the business has a score that ultimately clarifies like what their definition of success is in the position. So them having that and having that clarity has been a huge deal. And then the other thing, we've really focused over the last 3 years, and every time we make decisions, we talk about the people, the clients, and the company. And I think what happened, you have the company that say we're all about the people, and then when times get tough, they lay off 20% of their staff.
Yep.
So that's great, but it's got to be about all three, because you want to create safety and you want to create growth for your employees, and constantly every business decision we make, running through that three-legged stool to make sure that it's balanced.
And even with that, again, this is where our producers get upset because I go off our script because I'd rather talk to you than what we wrote. When it comes to creating a culture, it's like sometimes people who want to create a niche. And I sometimes tell them, I say, for certain strategy, yeah, if you know a clear defined niche, you go for it, you run with it, and you have fun with it. But a lot of the clients I work with, and I don't know about you, but they almost discovered their niche, right? Like they might go, I'm going towards chiropractors, and it turns out it's dentists, right? So I was kind of on target. Even with culture, I think sometimes people want to create this culture over here, but it doesn't align with what they're providing externally. It's like with core values. I always tell people core values are not ambitions. They should be the external showing of who you are. Like if someone's surprised by your core values, you got them wrong. So what are your thoughts on that, being in the marketing world where you deal with companies needing to niche and trying to get a message out directly to people, and this culture world, which you obviously spend a lot of time in? How could you tell someone if they feel like their culture is not a good fit? What would you suggest they do first?
So I would first, to take a step back real quick, you brought up the core values, which I think is really important. And one hole you could poke in us as a business is outside of just growth. Like we had a growth creed. We didn't really have values defined for a while. So then when we did define them, we basically just took what are the best people in our business doing, and like those are the values we want to emulate. And so it naturally sort of happened organically.
I got you.
So I would say if you're in a business right now and you don't feel like you have a good culture, I would bet one of the reasons why is because you're trying to please everybody, and you're constantly looking at, how do I not make anybody upset? Where sometimes that turns people off more than anything. And I think you just need to figure out, if you're the CEO or you're the founder or whatever it would be, what do you want your business to look like? And then should it look that way? Like involve your leadership team and come up with a discussion. And I think, an easy exercise is look at the top people in the company, and then what values do they represent that you really like, that makes them a top person in the company? And then let's amplify that. Let's make that clear. Let's make that known. And if you want, to be in the values of this organization, it falls under these capacities.
Now, you brought up another point, right, that a lot of people have trouble with: hurting other people's feelings, especially in today's world where you hurt the wrong person's feelings. You got a laundry list of things you got to deal with, right? The thing I love most about you and seeing what your people have talked about is just the word authentic is what pops up. And it popped up in their comments on who you are and what leadership is. Like you're the real you in and out, right? Whether you're the rapping you or you're the president you, right? You're still the same Eric. How would you help a leader or even an individual? Again, because I think leaders are at all levels of the company, right? And our listeners are at all level of the company. How can a leader bring authenticity in if they feel like they're going to hurt someone's feelings, right? Like, does that ever go through when you're being authentic and truthful to people and loving people? Do you feel that you're hurting their feelings, or does that tend to not be the outcome?
I love the quote "Clear is kind" by Brene Brown. That I heard that a long time ago, and it just really kind of summed it all up for me. But you always hear when people are left in the dark, they assume the worst.
Yes.
And I think that's very, very true. So in order to be authentic, I think being authentic is saying what's on your mind. Is there certain things you should or shouldn't say? Yes, use a little bit of discretion, but ultimately, what I try to implement with my team is if I'm thinking it, I'm just going to say it. And I can get better at how I say it. I could say it wrong one day. I could think about it and say, that was a little harsh. And I can go back to him the next day and be understanding and say, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't like how that came off yesterday. This was my intent. But what I'm not doing is holding it back, because I wouldn't want that done to me. At the end of the day, if you have feedback for me, or if I can improve, or you're thinking something, say it to me. Don't wait and say it to. I think people fear the conversation, and then ultimately they may talk to a peer or their boss and be like, "This person's terrible. Like, they don't do this or that." And then if you went and pulled that person in and said, "Hey, what do you think so and so thinks about me or thinks about you?" They think I'm great. Like, because they haven't said anything. So I do think clear is kind, and I think that is you may hurt some feelings, and try to do it in the best way possible. Start with heart and like state your intentions of why and why you're giving them this feedback. But it's okay to mess up and then go back to them and just own that.
And I think that's where that concept of authenticity comes in, right? Which is just you being you. And I love the clear is kind and start with heart. I think both those are things that people who are listening can take down and write. All right, so a couple things that your people brought up that I thought made you guys interesting versus other. And I don't want to dive into all of them.
Sure.
But there's a couple that I want, and if any of these pop up to you, I want you to bring up. Over 25 dedicated career paths to chart out personal growth, which is unique. Opportunities for cross-training in different departments. Weekly one-on-one maps, which you've already talked about. Opportunities to pitch and execute personal idea and innovate and initiatives, and then monthly themes with related contests and challenges. I want to talk about cross-training. Is there any one of the other those that you think is unique to how you do it and why your people labeled them as reasons why you're a best place to work?
Yeah, it's tough to pick from. It's like picking your favorite kid, right? I think the other one, the other thing I would double click on would be the 25 career paths.
So that was my second.
Yeah, just starting with that one, we realized early on that in this day and age, for people to get a promotion, to get a raise, to advance in their career, they would have to leave a company. And when you do that, you're starting over with friends and relationships. You lose all the equity you've built into your company. So we wanted to solve the problem where a company would never have to worry about where their next lead was coming from. And we knew what that looked like and how we did that would look very different over time. So what we've tried to do is create different divisions of the company to make sure not only for our clients that we're diversifying and finding new and better ways to do that, but it also created 6 different business units where employees in our company would never they don't have to leave to get a promotion or move to a different company. And then within each business unit, we wanted to create a path of how you could work your way all the way up to president. Like, here's your path to be able to do it and lay it out. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some hard work, but put the vision in front of them. And then, cold calling is not easy. And that's where a majority of our people start. And I'm sure almost 100% of them would not like to do it forever. So part of the reason we get such good people is because we have this opportunity and this growth, and it's really just created something special around that.
And what's so awesome about that is I could sit there thinking, why in the world would I, as president, show someone how they can take my job? And how wrong that mindset is so damaging. Where, to your point, to start with heart, is I would start with my heart there. Because in reality, if somebody could, Eric, work their way up from intern to do your job better than you, how excited would you be? And how beneficial would that be to you in your current role if they were to do that.
It would be
Right?
great. It would be amazing. And I think I'm pretty good at my role. I'm
Right.
sure there's somebody in the building that if they really wanted to put in the work and do that, could absolutely do it better than me. And when they do, I'll get to learn and develop from them. I'll get to use my skills on different parts of the business.
Yeah.
I just think there's no loss there. And it's having an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset. And there's plenty of opportunity for everybody, and plenty of growth to be had.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I want to chat about is this cross training in different departments, because I think that's something I suggest every client I work with to do, and everyone's confused as to why. I'm going to let you share why you guys do it. Why do you think that's advantageous? You're paying these people, right? They don't do this for free, right? Why do you guys do it, and why would you suggest other businesses to incorporate this process?
So it depends on the size of your business, because as you're smaller, they'll naturally just cross-train one another because everybody's doing a little bit of everything. But what we realize is as you grow as a business, you start to really silo out as a company. And silos, to say it very clearly, cost you a lot of money. It leads to lack of communication. It leads to lack of empathy for other departments. It leads to a lot of time wasted, energy in back and forth communication, because so-and-so never talks to so-and-so, nor do they have any empathy for the position that they're doing. And, what we've realized is two things. One, we move our leaders around a lot. So, if we're using the football analogy, you'll play quarterback for a couple seasons, and then you may move to wide receiver, and then we'll move you to running back. And then you might play tight end, and then after it all, you're like, you know what? I think I'm a really good wide receiver, and we'll put you in wide receiver. So we move our leadership. We believe in a mobility culture because, my EVP of partner sales right now, she ran training, she ran recruiting, she ran sales enablement for our sales team, and then now she's over 170 people of our fulfillment division, and she's so much stronger because of it. So we believe in moving people around because that is going to naturally decrease silos because they know and understand what's going on over there. And then for the rest of your team, you get to, everybody, the good ideas come from all over the place. So having one person go shadow somebody, who knows what they're going to come up with and see that, you may be missing something big as an organization. So I think it's a mistake to say, nope, stay in your seat, do your job, don't worry about what everybody else is doing, because I just believe that collaborating better as a business is not only going to lead to higher profitability, but it's going to lead to greater job satisfaction for your employees and ultimately increase their likelihood for growth because it gives them more options.
That mobility culture, you see me taking notes right now.
Yeah.
I love doing this because the amount that I learn from people like you, I don't know if that's something that you've coined, but you should. I mean, that is a huge disconnect. And what I talk about, even with the silos, is we all felt it when COVID hit. Those silos became a screen. And we wonder, everyone's like, oh, COVID really messed. No, COVID didn't mess up. It messed people up, but it just amplified the issues companies had internally, because now we don't have that proximity to lean on.
Exactly.
Right? So you're just taking that to an even stronger level. Those silos are devastating to companies. Devastating. And honestly, if everyone did what you said, I wouldn't have a job. So not everyone do it, but if you want to fix that problem.
Some people.
Exactly. Just a few of you.
What's funny too is, we have 2 work from home days, and we have some remote employees that don't live in the St. Louis area, but primarily we're in office, and you will have, one business unit that sits on the other side of a wall of a business unit. And if we don't have cross training and forced collaboration, it doesn't happen. So I can't even imagine some of these businesses trying to, without doing something like this, how they have any sort of collaboration with remote employees.
And then with the collaboration, it's not just the collaboration you said, but you use the word empathy. That's what because that brings grace into a company, which is needed when you're growing. When we don't have grace for other people, it's pointing fingers, it's blaming. This isn't happening because of this. And there's no way a company can be aligned with silos. There's no way. I don't care how big you are or small you are. So I think that point is phenomenal. And one of your growth shows, if you haven't done mobility culture, let me know when that happens, because I'll be listening.
Yeah, we do. Do have that one. That was one of the 50 for 50s. Yep.
There you go. All right, so let's jump into the people now, right? And this is where you can get your Kleenex if you want.
Yeah.
Because I want to walk you through what people have said about you guys, of why, what have you done to pour into the person? Because what a lot of people don't realize is, like I said, the people aren't the problem. The people's problems are the problems. And in this situation, we need to equip the people. And you've said that word a couple times, equipping. You want to equip the people. First thing somebody said was, this company took me in with little experience and gave me a chance to prove myself. I will forever be grateful for that chance because it's led to years of growth and experience that other places may not have ever given me. And what I credit that to is your ability to onboard people properly. The fact that you don't need the best version of that person to come in because you're confident in the systems you've put in place to pull that best version out. So you need someone who's moldable, not necessarily perfect, which gives you the ability to hire much more broadly, which is brilliant.
Absolutely.
I've never been in a corporate job that continually promotes, grows, and appreciates their employees and never was capitalized, which means there must have been other past experiences for that person. Some of the stats, walk me through over the last 6 months, right? You guys focus on two key factors that I heard people talk about. It was promotions and progressions. I think promotions are something everyone knows about. What are progressions? And just share some of the stats of what you guys are doing with the people in your team.
Yeah. So promotions, obviously you're getting promoted into a new role, new title, new job responsibility. Progressions, what we realized is we're actually reading this book as a leadership team, and it talking about motivation, and they talk about mastery, autonomy, and purpose. And we really lean, it is how individuals are motivated, and we really lean on the mastery here. And what we wanted to do is, if you get into a job and that's your pay and you don't have any opportunity for advancement, not that pay means everything, but it's also of like, I'm kind of at this ceiling. There's no motivation there. Right. So what we wanted to do is put a path together for people who want to come in and really master a role. So in every position, we have performance-based achievements / or tenure-based achievements for them to be able to take their income north within the role. So every month, we have about 25 people who are progressing in that role. And it's just a way to keep, as an employee, to stay challenged, have a new bar that you're trying to hit, and continue to achieve. And it's been really cool to see. And oftentimes the people progressing are the same ones that end up getting promoted as well. So I think it's been great.
So even with those numbers, you're talking a click of 3 to 5% every single month. Now, Correct. Again, as you're hearing that, you're going, yeah, but 3 to 5% is not that much. That's every single month.
Yeah. So about 60% of our people over the course of a year. Yeah.
You start extrapolating it out and wondering why don't people leave is because you're giving them places to go.
Exactly.
And in the world you're in, right? Like we work with companies that are in all parts of the country and they're going, hey, St. Louis, can you send me anyone who's good at this? They're literally asking me to scout people from other companies because they want to pull them. And that's what's happening, especially in your world where they could be remote. And then you get an offer or your people get an offer for 100% of what they're now getting paid, stay in St. Louis, have the fun time, but they're actually working out in California. You can't compete with that unless you give them something other than the commodity of money, which is what obviously you guys have done so well. Next one is become a better leader, but this person said that they've also learned how to manage my emotions at a high level, how to hold myself accountable for all things in my life better, how to have crucial conversations both inside and outside of work, and how to be a better listener and how to manage my finances. Where are any of those in her job description?
They are not.
I mean, that's the part that I love hearing people go, this is what's been, I get a check, and that's what we talked about in the interview, but no one's leaving that job. You can't pull that person because the value they're getting. My relatives had to go out of town and they typically watch my grandma. Abstrakt worked with me to allow me to work from home so I can continue doing my work while also ensuring my grandma was getting taken care of that she needs. We do huddles multiple times a week and always talk about our personal lives. And when people found out I was having an issue, they poured in. I mean, again, what's it have to do with marketing? Like, that's the beautiful part about this. So much growth and learning, not only professionally, but also personally, help build confidence and help me be able to buy my first house and car on my own.
That's
Now, here's
so
what
cool.
happens. Everyone's job helps them buy their first car and their first home, but very few people connect it to the job doing it, which goes to show again, man, the culture that you guys are creating. And for those listening, are you creating a culture that people go as they walk into that house, which is the biggest the biggest purchase of anybody's life, right? Especially their first house. Car's the first one, then the house trumps the car. Every time that person walks in their home, they're reminded of how grateful they are for working at your company. And I just want to share kudos to you on that. Some other these fun things, and I'm sure these are fun for you to hear, right? Again,
Yeah, I love.
just
I
so
love
you
these.
all know,
I could
why is
listen all day.
Eric's never heard these before. A player you brought up, they love using these. You have terms for almost everything you guys do, right? Mobile culture, all that stuff. The A player, adaptability, accountability, and ambition. Right. And those three factors, right? Those are the three factors of what you call an A player. And the fact that your team speaks in those terms shows that it's part of your culture. We have countless stories of people starting their careers, living at home with their parents, to buying a home, buying a car, building families, etc. Our president started as an unpaid intern and within a decade has become an extremely high-performing president at one of the largest marketing firms in the United States. I think one of the things that makes our company the best is that we all have tapped into the same goal. We all know and understand why we're here, what's going to take to make our clients satisfied. We also look out for each other and truly care about the person across from us because we're in it together. Hashtag one team, one dream.
That's awesome.
Does that
That
hashtag mean anything?
That was our that was our slogan, and I think that was 2022. But I love that it's still
a year later.
Yeah.
Out of 550 people, one person brings that back up. And again, that hashtag was on multiple things. I didn't realize that's what that was. Recently, our CEO held a large in-person town hall style company meeting where we all had the ability to share ideas of improving the company. How scary is that if you're not an authentic leader the way you guys are?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be tough. And kudos to him. He called. We were talking about this the other day. He called me at 8 a.m. this morning. He's like, "Yeah, we have town hall. I'm gonna do it company wide." I'm like, "You're gonna do it what?" He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it." I'm like, "Where are you gonna do it at?" He's like, "I don't know. Where do you think?" I was like, "Well, let's do it out on the patio. It's a nice day." He said, "Sounds great. Let's do it."
Wow.
And he's felt the need to get in front of the people and hear what they're saying, and that's not easy. And he's not some big extrovert either that loves doing that.
Right.
He just understands the importance of that the people need that.
So what was the outcome of that? I mean, I saw pictures of it. It was all on LinkedIn and stuff. What was the outcome of that? Was it beneficial? Was it difficult? Both? What happened?
Yeah, no, it was beneficial. I think everybody was like a little scared whenever you call a last minute all hands meeting with 500 people, but ultimately we got some really good ideas from our team on how to continue to improve and grow the business, and we're operating on some of those now. And I think it got when you have a company this big, you forget that your most important resource is just the sum of everybody working together in one direction. And I think there's a lot of good ideas and things that they can contribute.
When you hear me say these things that your employees shared of what's the one thing that when they think of the company, pop this in your head, and that's what comes out. And please understand, we don't ever share negative things, right? But we got nothing but these positive answers continuously throughout all of the questions we
You
asked.
must have sent them to the wrong people. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't send them out, right? I think the problem, the thing that comes with it is, what does it tell you when you hear that for the first time with all the work you've put in over the last few years, all the effort, all the money, all the investment, ups and downs of COVID, I mean, you name it, and that's where your people are currently?
I think, and maybe I'm a little naive, but honestly, I don't think I have a lot to do with it. I think what I've done a good job, and our leadership team has done a good job of saying, we have big goals and aspirations, and we want you all to come along with us, and we're going to do whatever it takes to give you all the tools to make sure you can come along with it. And I think like the person talking about my finances and that's probably them just being surrounded around like-minded peers who
Right.
want to grow and want to develop and want to move forward in their lives. I remember, like when I was director back then, I read this Tony Robbins book on, investing, and I called the whole floor in and I was like, I don't know what you're doing right now, but you guys got to start saving money tomorrow. Whatever you can save, start maxing out your 401k.
Don't
if you
use a
can do that.
broker.
Yeah, don't use a broker, right? But that was, I just think that sort of thing is happening all the
Right.
time, and it's just cool to see. It's just a snowball that just continues to get bigger and bigger, and it's the people really that are doing it.
And the funny thing is, I bet you if I was to ask your clients, what do they think about Abstrakt? They would say, yeah, they do good work. But if I ask, what do they think about the culture? I can almost guarantee your clients, to a certain extent, would answer in a similar way. Just based on how I've seen companies come through this program and how their people answer. I mean, it's the external showing of who you are. And that's the results. It's a fruit that's coming of the seed that you've planted years ago. And as you guys have built this, which is just amazing. Our last section is all about giving back and doing good. And we do this because we have a foundation, take part. Our daughter has a rare medical condition, and we started a foundation, and we realized there's a lot of people who need help. And we realize in the philanthropic world, the companies who really get it about their people tend to also do some pretty interesting things when it comes to doing even above and beyond the stuff that's expected. So some of the things that your people really appreciate what you do when it comes to giving back in the community. As one person said, their favorite day of the year is when you let the whole group, is that right? Go out. It's like
whole company
paid day off to go volunteer. Is that right?
Yeah. So we have a paid day off personally that you can use to go volunteer, and then we have a company wide what we call Abstrakt Gives Back, and this day we pick 20 to 25 charities. We split the whole company up into groups, and it's not optional. Maybe it should be, but it's not. We all do it. No one works that day, and we go out and we support these companies for a full day and do whatever we can. And it's so cool to you go to these places that are just struggling to get volunteer help, and a group of 10, 15 people coming in can get the work done that it would have taken them 9 months to a year to do. And it's just so rewarding, and that's a big business decision. Like it's losing a day when you're at this size is tough, but we haven't even thought about taking that away. Like it is 100% the right thing to do.
And the funny part is, it's like, well, couldn't you just take that money and donate it? You could,
right?
But the impact on your employees, on the community, on your company, on the culture, like, I want people listening to this to start recognizing that Eric is making wise investments. You're not just doing good because you think it's a nice thing to do. This is a calculated investment. You're just thinking outside the box. You're seeing the more holistic approach, which is what causes these gaps to creep in, is when we sit there and so narrow-minded and go, I don't want to give them, let's just give them 8 extra hours of pay. Let's not give them 8 hours of PTO to go volunteer. The key is it's these multiple values that you're receiving as a company and an organization by taking a single action. Donation match program amplifies the personal charitable giving. I love that. One of our biggest things that comes through to us are individuals go to their company and they say, hey, what would you match? And they're amazed at how much their company's willing to match, right? Just to double their ability. But the beautiful thing is they now, instead of giving $1,000, they've given $2,000.
Right.
And the value of that is so powerful. Monthly charities linked to promotional gear. That is brilliant, and I haven't heard that from many people. What is that?
So we call it, kudos to the marketing team, we call it Chair-I-T, Chair-I-T.
Nice.
And then essentially we pick a foundation every month to sponsor.
Yeah.
And then we work with them together on branded swag. You can see I'm wearing my Abstrakt swag. We have all sorts of, one of our big things here is everybody has a bunch of Abstrakt gear. And just more than anything, it's easy to not worry about what you have to wear in the day. But we'll do a monthly sponsor with a charity, and then we'll give them all of the proceeds from from the deal.
Well, then we'll have to talk since we're local. No,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's so powerful what you're doing. But with all that being said, I always like to wrap this up with, we've been talking about all the good, but you still have challenges, right? Like with
Sure.
all the good you're doing, with all the impact you're making, you still have challenges. And these are the challenges that we call PPG, personnel performance gaps. What are some of the things that you're running into, or even in your world, because you deal with a lot of clients, you're seeing clients run into from a best place, best people, best culture concept that you could touch point on how you're handling things like motivation, engagement, communication, management, leadership, whatever it might be. Whatever I always call them the main topics of self-growth at this time, right? Like
Yeah.
change management, that's a big one now. 10 years from now
Yeah.
it might not be. So what are you guys doing to overcome some of these gaps, or are there some gaps that you guys are working on right now that you haven't figured out?
Yeah. Great question. Always gaps. Always gaps. I would say probably one of the bigger ones is, we have, your biggest, I'm a big believer in your biggest strength is your biggest weakness. So
Mhm.
one of our biggest strengths is the vision we're able to provide to employees. And in that, when you promote leaders who have done the job before, you have a lot of empathy, you have an understanding, you can train and develop. Um, we have a leadership development gap that we are going to experience because of the rapid growth that we are planning to have and
Yeah.
starting to have already. And so we have to get our internal employees developed
Mm.
quicker than we ever have before. So I
Yeah.
think heavier investment in just making the jump from high level individual contributor to leader, which is a big jump. Whenever, I know when I made it myself, there's a lot of things that you need to learn and you don't know.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing I would say is balancing, is work-life balance. I like to think of it of, there's not a lot of companies like us who have been on Inc. 5,000 10 times. It's like less than 1% of every company that's ever been on Inc. Long story short, we're like 1 in 1,000. So that's what I tell new hires. And I'm not bragging, but I am, because I
Yeah.
love that I've been able to be a part of this thing and I'm proud of it. But we're going to ask more out of you than other companies.
Mm.
We're not going to be okay with you sitting on your phone all day and messing around and not putting in the work to improve your client success. And I think some people might look at that and say, "Oh, well, I'll take the job where I'll be more comfortable, etc." But that's not. They all come here for growth, and I tell them
Yeah.
that, and they all tell it back to me. They're like, "Yeah, like I love that. I love that I'll be challenged. I love that I'll be pushed." But I think there's always a balance, and that's something that we'll have to continue to navigate.
That's so good. And the part that I want to share, because we do ask that question, I don't share all those answers because I don't think that's giving the employees a chance to go, what's wrong with the company, and then just airing all that out there. But the
Yeah,
beautiful thing about what you said is those are the 2 points that were brought up by your people. And why do I share that as being beautiful and so important is you're aware of what's going on. And it's funny because these are the same people who said all those positive things and they weren't complaining about it. It's just hard.
yeah,
Like
right,
growth is hard. And if your employees were like, no, everything's perfect, they'd be lying. And
right.
that's the part that I think is amazing. The other thing that you said was, here's where we're going. So we're going to need to invest. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people will say that, but few will put their money where their mouth is, right? You guys have shown it time and time again. So I'm excited to see what you do. But hey, if we're going to ask our people to do more, are we willing to give them what they need in order to do more? And I think that's part that I want to make sure everyone heard you say was, with this ask, here's what we're going to provide. We're going to ask you to step up, but we're going to give you the support you need. And if you're not willing to give the support, do not ask your people to step up. It's
Yeah,
like, hey, we're going to ask you to go in the building and there's guns in there, but we're not going to give you the protection you need. Like,
right.
go for it. They're not super
Yeah.
excited. We can support them. And I think you guys do a great job of that. And I want to give you guys, again, just kudos. I'm excited, honestly, just to get to know more of what you guys are doing and learn more from you. Is there anything else you want to share? Did we miss anything before we wrap this up?
No, I don't think so. I really, really enjoyed this interview. It was so cool hearing those things from our employees. I love that you don't tell me either. It's a little bit. It makes it special to just hear it as we're going here. But really appreciate the interview. I would just say if anyone's in the St. Louis area and they're looking to develop their career, we have a lot of different paths. And if you're a prospective client that's looking to grow your business, we do web development. We do lead generation via call and email. Have a recruiting division, and also Salesforce consulting and creative design. You name it. So if you're interested, reach out. You can look me up just on LinkedIn, Eric Watkins, or go to our website, abstraktmg.com. That's with a K. So abstraktmg.com. And this has been a pleasure, Matt. Like, you're a ball of energy. This is fun.
This is a great time, man. Well, hey, I appreciate everybody. We will put all this in the show notes. I'm telling you, if you want to learn how to build a culture properly, follow Eric. Check out what they're doing. They're very active on LinkedIn. They're an open book, and jump on that podcast, The Grow Show. It's amazing content, completely free, giving you guys. Eric, I appreciate it. Everyone listening, I appreciate it, and we will see you all on the next episode.